spread one love, okay? Thanks for tuning in to us, the MNM Show.
MNM Show.
Here we are.
Oh, here we are.
Yeah, there's no intro now.
Okay, all right. I was trying to get down and have the
I mean,
beat.
I like that silent interlude, though. That was kind of like...
It was kind of dope.
Well, welcome everyone to the MNM Show. This is our very first live broadcast. I am Nikki MG, and I'm here with the one and only Molly Rulin. What's up, Molly?
What up, though?
Hey, hey, hey. And I'm here with the metaphysical, the J Mills.
J Mills.
What?
Yes. We are live and fresh here at the One Love Massive Creative Factory.
Yes, yes.
Once again.
Yes.
And what is this now? So we've had 2 or 3 podcasts published.
Well, so we've recorded like 5, but we
Yes.
published 3, and then we decided to go live.
Yes.
Because that's the way to go. Because we're just so much more dynamic and fabulous.
Because we are live. You
We
know what I'm
are
saying?
live, yes.
People like to watch.
That yes.
J Mills, speaking the truth. Always speaking the truth.
So for those of you who are tuning in for your first time, this is the MNM Show, and basically it's the 3 of us queens, and we're having some story time. We're talking about our lives, our perspectives on a whole host of different issues, on local culture. We talk about business, and then we always get metaphysical.
Yes.
And so that's my favorite part of the show. You got to stay to the end to get metaphysical with the one and only J Mills.
Soul food.
But before we get metaphysical, today we're going to have story time. And, I want to talk, well, first of all, we're going to talk about DACA, what's happening in the country. But before we talk about that, we like to talk about issues from a really personal space. And, so we're going to talk about immigration today and what that means to the 3 of us who are not recent immigrants, but at some point our families were in some way or another. So we want to start there.
Indeed.
And just really talk about like what does this mean? What actually is happening, and what does that mean in our personal lives? So I'm going to start with Molly. Molly, I know that Miss Ruland, you are of Irish descent.
Yes,
So tell us a little bit about your family history. When did your Irish family first immigrate here?
So actually, I text my mom last St. Patrick's Day, and I said, so how Irish am I? Like, what's the stats? And so all of my ancestors came from Ireland. They came originally from 4 different rivers in Ireland and are represented by different Celtic river gods and things of that nature. But my great-grandparents came to the United States from Ireland, both on my mom and my dad's side. So my great-grandfather, great-grandparents on my mother's side were bartenders and entertainers and bartenders. And then my great-grandparents on my father's side were bartenders and bootleggers.
So this is just 2 generations ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, my grandfather owned a bar in Brooklyn, New York on 3rd Avenue, the Poorhouse.
Do you know around when like they founded it, or like what year this was?
I don't. And I mean, we were raised super Irish. We definitely did like the Irish dancing thing and Cayleys and feshes and all that. And so we were super duper Irish, and we always respected our heritage and our ancestry in that sense. Like I played very Irish instruments, and like, I mean, it's very, submersive in the Irish culture. But I don't know a ton about my actual family lineage, and I think it has a lot to do with the bartending and the bootlegging that I mentioned. But we were some epic motherfuckers, and so I know that my dad's side, they moved to New York, and my mother's side, they moved to Philadelphia, fresh off the boat, and they apparently my mom's side grandparents had a like a boarding home, like hostel hotel for entertainers and wayward souls in Philadelphia that apparently still stands. So I actually need to look more into that.
Yeah.
So I've always, celebrated my like Irish heritage and definitely did a bunch of super Irish shit as a kid that separated me from everyone else. But in Ireland, our struggle is very different. It's Irish versus or Catholic versus Protestant. So it's a whole lot of people that look exactly like each other throwing bombs at each other in the street. So it's just a different it's a whole different experience and history. And as a kid, kudos to my parents. They started this program, or were involved in this program called Children of the Crossfire, where they would take a kid or two kids from Dublin every summer, a Catholic kid and a Protestant kid, and they would put them in the United States in like homes.
That's cool.
And so they would take them out of this war zone, because literally you're learning how to make like car bombs when you're 12, you know what I mean, or younger. Like, people that die. Like, just getting home from school, you're like walking through a war zone, and that's how it was for a long time. Especially, I grew up. I was born in '75, so this is in the mid '80s. So it was a volatile time in Ireland. And
Did you live in Ireland?
No, I lived here.
Okay.
But my parents involved in this program, so every summer as a kid, there would be a Catholic kid and a Protestant kid from Dublin living in our house. And then all my, parents' friends would have, a set of Irish kids living in their house too. So I definitely understood the world a little bigger outside of where I grew up in Falls Church. And I always recognized like my Irish heritage more so than my American heritage.
Mm-hmm. And so... why did your parents immigrate here in the first place?
I don't know, and I've been really compelled to ask my mom and my dad more information, and even just look up the timelines to try to understand why it is that drew them from Ireland. I know, like, on my mom's side, on the entertainer side, one of my great uncles or something was an entertainer, and his tap shoes are actually in the Smithsonian. So there was a lot there. I mean, they came to America and immediately hit the ground running with their illegal and legal operations, so they were capable, intelligent people that decided to come here. And I don't know why, so it's,
did they ever talk about struggles or challenges they faced when they first arrived?
Not at all.
They never talked about it?
No. It's a weird thing to grow up so submerged in like such a specific culture, and to know all that, and to not really know anything about your actual family history. And a few years ago, I tried to do the Ancestry.com thing, and then I realized very quickly that I wasn't gonna figure shit out, because I didn't even know my grandparents' like names or middle names. Like, you have to give the machine some information to find your parent, your lineage. And I realized very quickly I didn't know any of it, and it was very hard to find that, And I don't know if that's because, landing here as an Irish man or woman, at that time was equally difficult, and we all kind of hit the ground running, because I think that's what my family instilled in me. Even though they're very hands-off, they taught me to be very independent and capable. And I think that was really more the mission of, like, dexterity and longevity and a strong constitution than necessarily maybe remembering where we came from. I don't know. These are all questions that I will be asking my mom the next time I speak to her, because I've been actually giving this a lot of thought,
Yeah, we want to hear more about it.
Me too. I will update you.
What's the story of the Ruland family?
That's right. Well, we all know we liked alcohol and throwing parties, so I feel like, if nothing else, you know what I mean, I am a true testament
to that.
My lineage, It's in my genes to throw parties.
So would you say you feel very Irish more? You had said earlier you feel very Irish more so than American, or?
For sure. I mean, not necessarily now. I don't know if, I definitely have a pride. Like, I respect being an American from a sense that, like, when this country was founded, a lot of people, left their homes and knew that they were most likely going to die and probably never going to see their family again or talk to them, in hopes of something better. And that's what a lot of America was founded on. A lot of the reason why the people that chose to come here, why they chose to come here, at one point, 70% of Norway left Norway and came here and taught us how to log. Like, the original settlers of the United States were all people who were like, fuck this shit, there's something better, you know what I mean? And I'm going for that. And so it also explains why America is so narcissistic and also has more entrepreneurs per capita than any other country, because we all, not we all, but a lot of people, you know what I mean, generations ago made that choice to come here, how they were treated when they got here is a different story, and plenty of people were brought here against their will. But I feel like, on the very basis of what America is, like there's some sense of patriotism, but in the America that I live in and that I witness every day, it's really difficult to feel patriotic when it's a system based on oppression and inequality.
I hear that. I think I have felt like that at times. I think I was thinking about this the other day, even now with Trump in office, and things with all of the police shootings, with what just happened in Charlottesville, just all this shit every single day. I still feel extremely American, and that's just because like I grew up here, and I think I'm still proud to be an American, and I know that every country has its fucked up issues. No place is perfect, and our shit may be worse than other places, but it's our shit to fix. And so I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of making the shit better. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to hold motherfuckers accountable, and talk about it. So enough about me for now. In the meantime, Molly, thanks for telling us a little bit about your family history. Jay Mills, you are a native Washingtonian, as they like to say.
Yes.
From this area. Tell me a little bit about your family's background. When did y'all come to Washington, D.C.? How many generations ago?
My parents went to Howard. Whoop whoop. HU Bison.
No.
They went to medical school together. They're doctors. My father was from Atlanta, the Atlanta area, Ellenwood, Georgia, to be specific. My mom's from Houston. My history on both my parents' side is interesting. Being blackity black. My uncle, shout out to my Uncle Horace, Alexander Young III.
That's a serious name.
Yeah, man. He's an awesome, amazing musician. Traveled all around the world. He's a master woodsman. I said woodsman. Woodwind musician, and he had the urge to really do our family tree, and in finding out a lot of amazing things about our family. Like it's a documentary worthy film, the different sides. Through my mother's side, my mother's mother and father, through her father's side, we found out that I was Yoruba. Through her mother's side, that's Native American and Chinese, very Native American. My mother knew her Native American grandparents. Her great grandfather's name was Spear.
That's dope.
And she talked about how when her parents were looking for a home in Houston, they came from like Waco. They were in the middle of the state. When they moved to Houston, they were like, why would you live here? The big water's gonna rise. And my parents were like, we're not by the coast. What are you talking about? And they're like, I wouldn't live no matter where they chose. My Native American grandparents were like, nah. But finding out through that lineage, because my grandmother chose to marry someone who was black. I have cousins that live on the reservations and stuff. Like I have a whole Native American side, but back then, if that was the choice that you made, you couldn't take the black side with you. So just finding out these things about my heritage, finding out what it is to be Yoruba, the art and the music and the spirituality that comes along with that specific tribe, the whole Oshun, the waters, it made so much sense. There was so much of a blank.
That's why you're so magical.
I mean, I've always known it. I've always said it. My parents have always said it. We've known that we were royal, but when it comes to be discovered that they systematically and purposefully got some of the best Africans on purpose. You know, they didn't have to teach us how to build anything. They didn't have to teach us masonry. They didn't have to teach us how to farm, how to sew, how to do any blacksmith. Nothing was taught to us. We came to teach this information. So switching that to my father's side of the family, I mean, very beautiful women, very, very beautiful women, but known for breeding. You go back and back, and my family is really, really huge. Really, really huge. A lot of siblings, a lot of daughter, sister, same age kind of things, or aunt and sister. Aunt and daughter is like the same age. But very beautiful, man. I love my genes. We live really old, but again, like that whole southern side, it just has given me a really grounded kind of perspective in life. You know, my parents growing up in this super segregated South. I remember I got into an argument with my parents, my mom, when I was in like high school. I wanted to go to some pool party, and she was like, no. And I asked her, well, when did you start going to pool parties? And she looked and she paused and she realized, she's like, I didn't get to go to no pool parties.
Times had changed.
Exactly. Like, you didn't go because you couldn't go.
Yeah.
This isn't a grown thing to do, you know, but on all fronts, just having this conversation. My parents raised me like, this is what we came from. This is how it was. My father didn't go to integrated schools until he was in the 11th grade. You know, about Juneteenth, that's talking about Texas. It took them that long. They real slow in adjusting. Like, but my mother's father was a Mason, and her parents went to university. You know, I just feel real blessed to come through that. My father's side, my grandmother's children were the first ones to go to college, but they all the men are super successful. The women are really successful. But that's that first generation success. But
that's great. That's wonderful to hear. That's wonderful. Both of you have families who hit the ground running and made it happen, despite the difficulty of a time of things past. So it's interesting, Jay Mills, your family heritage, you have African descendants who, although it was not explicitly said, most of you watching know the history of America. So were brought here at some point as slaves, and then you have another side of your family who are Native American, who were here before anybody else, and then enslaved, and then when they fought back, they were like, okay, well, y'all have to go into these little tiny areas after massacring a lot.
Chinese railroad workers
and Chinese railroad. Yes. Which we, people don't talk about enough what has happened to Asian immigrants and workers in this country. So it is, and then we have Molly, whose family came from Ireland, who, although she is not 100% sure, I'm going to assume probably left to escape some kind of trouble in the homeland, either with religious persecution or food shortage issues.
We love our potatoes, so when those ran short,
heard about that.
We made moves in other locations. But I'm guessing that if in the mid 80s things were as tense as like children throwing homemade bombs at each other in the streets, and I can't imagine earlier in the history it was much more peaceful. But
that's what the U2 album War Sunday
Bloody exactly
Sunday
it's pretty intense. It was super cool, that program, to see those kids be able to bond together and realize that they were fighting someone else's war.
Well, also, after Reconstruction, there was this huge push word to the Statue of Liberty to invite Europeans to America to be the workforce, to stop African Americans from taking all the jobs. Give me your poor, give me your tired, give me your hungry. They put a call out And word to what we're about to talk about right now
Yeah.
with this DC, is not all immigrants.
Yeah, no.
Word to, I remember Elian Gonzalez, and I
Oh
remember
my
not
God.
understanding what the whole big deal was, but just
Right. That poor
some
child.
immigrants are welcome, some are not.
Yeah.
You come from the Dominican Republic, you cool. You come from Haiti, sending you back.
Right. So I wanted to give a little bit more talk about this, just context a little bit more before we just jump into it, because this is a personal show. We didn't explicitly talk about it, but underneath both of your stories, there is struggle, right? Like the history of slavery. There's pain in there. There's pain in adjusting. The history of Native Americans, there's pain in that. There's pain in the adjustment of your culture being taken, transformed without your will. In the history of Irish immigrants here, it's to my knowledge that the first Irish immigrants that came here, it's not like people were like, yay, Irish folks are here, like y'all were like the quote unquote niggers of white people. I'm allowed to say it.
No, I'm just gonna laugh awkwardly.
It was pretty horrible, yo. Shout out to the Irish struggle, for real.
I mean,
real. And the struggle at home, the war there too, like that's not easy on anybody.
For sure, because this is like religious battle and you're fighting someone who looks exactly like you that lives 5 miles away. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. I mean, not that any war does, or somebody looking like you justifies it, or different than you justifies it, but like, what a confusing thing, to be fighting someone who...
And then, well, especially from Ireland, like, it's a long fucking way away from the United States.
Right, so just getting here alone.
Getting here is a battle, right?
There's probably a mortality rate of, close to half just to get your ass here without dying on the boat.
Exactly. And we know how many black people died on the Middle Passage going across here. So that's a struggle. And then, so people, like one of you said before, people put their lives at stake in order to get to somewhere better. People put their lives at stake to get to America, whether they wanted to or not.
Right.
It's a perilous journey then. And it still is today. So I worked as a restaurant worker organizer for many years. I had the privilege and honor of hearing a lot of stories from immigrant workers right here in the Washington, D.C. area, and what they and their families went through coming from El Salvador, Mexico, and just how tough it is to, depending on how they came here, travel by foot, be cramped up in a truck, be cramped up for days, not exactly sure where you are or where your next meal is coming from, being afraid of being caught by ICE and all kinds of other, getting entangled with all kinds of other unsavory types of business transactions and whatnot along the way.
Right.
And then when you actually cross the border, depending on where you're at, like you're in a new place, you may not speak this language. And then you're entering America. Let's think about that. Like the three of us, we're desensitized to it because we've grown up here. But, if you live somewhere outside of here and you're seeing police murdering black people every day, you're seeing the same stuff we are. You're seeing students being massacred, children.
Right.
Like, is this really a place that you're like, oh, yeah, they really respect people there, I'm going to come here and be safe? So like, you, depending on where you land, which typically is going to be nowadays, if you're Latino, going to be in the South of America, you're entering places like Arizona, not friendly. You're entering places like Texas, not friendly. You know what I'm saying? So you have to get through that, and then maybe you have a family member here, maybe you don't. Maybe you have a connection in some community in New York or Washington D.C. or wherever.
Right.
So you have to trudge your way through this country to get where you're going. And then once you get there, let's say you're coming here to Washington D.C., the cost of housing is fucking outrageous.
Bananas.
If you don't have a proper identification, you're not getting any housing or any job to begin with. Like, there's a
Right.
lot of hurdles it takes to live, quote unquote, here. And so people go through all that, you know?
For sure. But, maybe compared to other places, because I just don't think we're being broadcasted everyone else's life the way the American life is broadcasted, And so I think that, like, if we saw how everybody lived every day in other places, it would be different. But what's broadcast, maybe even from other places, Trump is still better than, Venezuelans. Venezuelans would take Trump over their president right now. I'll tell you that. I'm not a Trump. Don't, let the record reflect. I am not defending or supportive of Trump. I'm just saying, I bet you some Venezuelans would rather live in America right now than in Venezuela, because it's like a state of political unrest and riots over there nonstop.
I am not educated to speak on that issue. I'm going to trust you by default here.
Sweet.
But
Venezuela's been fucked up since Chavez died.
and
they've been in literally in riot status for over 100 days. Actually since last year, almost a
Chavez was
year.
a disruptive force to the world. As we've been having this conversation, I stay on the metaphysical tips.
What?
On some
Somebody's
on
got to
some
do
deeper
it.
thoughts. I realized the paradigm shift. I meditate on the culture that is the true mother culture of the earth. What is indigenous? Why do they make a separation between that? What were we like before there were passports? How did we travel?
right.
Where were you from?
Right.
Why did you
Right.
go? We traveled this whole planet.
Exactly.
This whole planet. You wanted to leave? You fucking make a ship. The
Right.
fuck? Just that sail.
Learn how to walk real good.
Now there's
For
all
long
these
periods of
laws that are
time.
All these
tainted
laws,
with
and what is it
racism and
based on?
xenophobia, economics.
How do they have the authority? Because they
even-
have the guns. That's basically
Yeah.
it.
That.
If you break it, it's pirate. We are being ruled by pirates. And the more we realize that, and you have to dig real deep, and it sucks because for things to change, everything must change. But the pirates and Puritans, that's what this is. They came, they killed, loot, plunder, and now they want to make rule. What do you expect? The true face of America is being shown. And we have to deal with what is America and how much of this do we want? What can we say goodbye to? We are outgrowing the kingdom of America, and that's a fact. It cannot sustain the people. There's not enough welfare. There's not enough. They can't. We already pulled a jig by printing our own money, but the jig is up. Why do we get to print our own money? Who says that? Who sets what a dollar is worth against another currency? And with all these cryptocurrencies,
Right.
and the jig is fucking up.
I'm trying to get hip. If you're listening and you know about cryptocurrencies, please hit me up, man.
Bitcoins
Yeah.
and other cryptocurrencies.
Let's talk about
We've
it.
already set it up. The moment we decide, but what is currency? People don't even really think about economics. What is worth anything? The moment a disaster happens, how good are your dollars?
Yeah,
For
especially
real.
if you can't get to them. If the power goes out and all your money's in the bank and
Suddenly-
the bank is on fire and there's no electricity, your ATM and your money in the bank don't mean shit.
It's always been an illusion.
What are
We
you
play
gonna
with
do?
money all the time. You go to a casino and you give them money and they give you chips. And they tell
Yeah.
you these chips are worth this much.
So if it's all an illusion,
Yeah.
if the economics of the system, it's all an illusion, then why all the bullshit about DACA? Let's bring it back to DACA,
Because
right?
they want to flex. They realize that they're losing their power. At the same time that he's doing that, it's like watch the hand while you don't see 3,000 malls close. While you don't see that the whole budget for our infrastructure as a country is being bankrupt. We're going to talk about DACA when we have a hurricane on the way to
Yeah.
the east coast of America, and Trump just rescinded the flood government protection. It's crazy. What America are we trying to keep people in or out of? The whole shit's about to crumble.
I'm trying to get out.
And it's fucked up because it gets you emotional. It gets you very emotional, and you forget like the core shit. Like, yo, do you have water in your house? You know, are we ready? We talked about this before, but like, man, North Korea's like
testing bombs and shit.
There's so many.
There's a lot going on right now. There's a lot going on right now.
So can we talk about for 1 second about go bags? Do you have a go bag, lady? Do you have a go bag?
I have a go bag.
What's that?
Okay, so a go bag is like a bag that you prepare that is like in case the shit goes down.
Oh,
you better be ready.
A bug out
we
bag.
had talked about this before.
We did, but we haven't followed through on this.
No, we
I think
haven't.
that for next week,
I got a big ass Tupperware joint that has a top to it, and I've been putting different books in there that have like this plant book that has like 14,000 different plants that you can identify and eat in nature.
That would be helpful.
And another book.
Definitely helpful.
Yeah, man. Waterproof and shit.
What?
So I'm putting a case of water in there. I'm putting like random food cans.
What would you put in your go bag?
Oh my gosh. That's such a great question. What goes in the go bag? Oh my goodness. All right, I already said what's in there now, but what else?
We talked about this the last time.
No, we didn't, because it has to be a slight time capsule a bit, but it also has to be functional.
Well, you have to survive.
So I'm taking my knives, like my kitchen knives, all that. Can opener, wine key.
See, I'm thinking weed and kind bars. You know what I'm saying? Batteries, flashlight,
and weed seeds.
Yeah, I had batteries,
weed seeds,
and water.
What do you think of the future, metaphysical mills?
Yeah, man, gotta take your seeds, yo.
That's right. Put them wherever you gotta put them.
So that's a good idea. Put some seeds in the
waterproof matches. Yes. But for real, everybody should have a go bag. And a go bag is just like a backpack that you stuff with stuff that if you wake up in the middle of the night and there's a fucking like alarms going off and your neighborhood just got bombed and the shit's really hitting the fan. Which is a reality for a lot of people all over the world, which is why DACA is even a conversation, right?
Yeah, let's bring it back.
Yes.
So for people that don't know exactly what DACA is, it is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival Act, I believe. So I'm sure many people have heard of the DREAM Act. They've heard of the Dreamers. There's been for a decade, I think now, young people who were who came here as very young children and were basically raised here, whose parents, I guess, were not U.S. citizens, but they themselves have grown up here. Well, you know, they don't have the rights as regular citizens in terms of employment, in terms of education, in terms of benefits and whatnot. And so the DREAM Act was a proposal on the table that went through and I think got declined multiple times from Congress until finally they passed DACA, I think in 2012, if I remember correctly.
Obama.
Yes, which was in many people's opinion a great step forward, but a lot of people are also pretty pissed about it because it's just a temporary status thing. It's for 2 years and then you have to keep reapplying for it. So it's a very, very temporary thing. You know, the 111th, 112th, 113th Congresses have been pretty shitty in my opinion. They've been some of the most conservative, some of those most male, most white Congresses like in all of American history, like even more so than after Reconstruction and whatnot. It's crazy. So you know, it's been a really tough battle for the immigrant community, for progressive Congress people and administrators to get anything, a concrete, positive solution around immigration for folks. But DACA has been something that's been extremely important to young folks and their families, and also to we got to talk about it. The American economy is about 800,000 people who have been able to now legally work and contribute to the tax base, and be productive people, instead of being not productive and unemployed. And it's also sent hundreds of thousands of young people onto universities, which is great. Let's develop the minds of people and have them take our country to even the next level, in all different sorts of fields. And so now Trump and Sessions just trying to repeal it. Of course, this has to go through Congress still. So which brings us to another interesting juncture. If you're here listening and you're in Washington, D.C., and you want to know, what the hell can I do? Like, if I believe that dreamers have the right to be here, have the right to work, have the right to education, have the right to free the earth freely, as we once did, without all these, I'm just going to say it, white supremacist bullshit policies, then...
Because that's what it is.
Because that's what it is.
Exactly.
Then, you can call your Congress member, right, and tell them to not repeal DACA, to keep it, to protect the dreamers, to protect young people. And but if you live here in Washington, D.C., I guess you can call Eleanor Holmes Norton, although she doesn't have a vote on anything, but she does have power and influence. She can have conversations, and she can influence other Maryland and Virginia and federal folks. So call Eleanor, and if you're in DC, or if you're in Maryland or Virginia, call your local congressperson, call your senator as well. It actually really makes a difference. For every one person that called, it's supposed to represent like 1,000 people or something, at least. It feels that way. So I don't know, if you've never called your congressperson or your representative, do it. You'd be surprised at how friendly they are on the phone because they know you represent your constituent, your potential voter, and their Congress people are always thinking about their job,
their next vote, where they're getting their next vote. But there's other things that you can do too, folks.
If you go to dreamers.fwd.us, like dreamersforward.us, it gives you a background on the legislation. You can actually read the DREAM Act there, but you can also sign a petition, and they'll tell you who your congressperson is and all of that. So I suggest going to that website. There's also other organizations like the AFL-CIO who have petitions out. Basically, if you're a modern person in the digital world, I know some of us are still analog, but if you use your Intertron, I'm sure you can find.
Can you repeat the website one more time?
It's dreamers.fwd.us.
Okay.
Like Dreamers Forward. Dreamers.fwd.us.
Putting that in the chat.
Yes.
Real quick. Shout outs to everybody who's tuned in. I see you, Tia. I see you, Wes. I see you, Roxy, Kenneth, Kenya, Lionel,
FWD,
Tony, Javier, Yvonne. Shout outs to everybody that's tuning in, watching us live.
Yes. So, I don't know. I think that I agree with you ladies. If you're not hurting people and you want to live somewhere new, whether it's because you gotta go or because you want to, you should be able to do that.
Yeah, man.
I agree.
I fully feel that we should travel around the world, man. Y'all, you already know. Tune in to last week's episode where we talked about being prepared. And I'm still about that ship making, commandeering.
I've had a lot of conversations about that in the last week with people.
But you're just gonna go to like PG County.
Wait, where did we say we're going again?
Commandeering to like National Harbor.
Where in Maryland?
No, I would travel the islands around the Caribbean. I don't know how much of the open ocean.
But where did you say your family is in Maryland?
Fort Washington.
Fort Washington. We're going to Fort Washington.
Right. Oh man, now the internet knows. Oh my gosh, no, don't go to
Just
Fort
kidding.
Washington.
We're going to Fort Baker.
Yes. Fort Baker Drive.
So after we have our go bags ready, we're going to commandeer somewhere in Maryland, and then we're going to travel to where the fuck we want to.
That's right.
And where are we going?
Costa Rica.
In a dream world, ideally. Where would we
I'm going to Jamaica. Shout out to my girl, Tia. I love Jamaica. Oh my gosh. When I went there, I felt like I was home. I really did. It was just unadulterated African blackness. Like, it reminded me of DC, like Chocolate City, but in a way that I didn't even know where we were watered down from. Like, it was just crazy.
What do you mean?
I mean, just I think about like, movies like Soul Plane. And before, Obama, it was a joke, head of state on what it would be like to have a black president.
I know.
So it's like the idea of black excellence is a joke. But when you go,
not to me,
starting just from going to Dulles and just seeing Ethiopian Airlines, South African Airlines, and these black airlines, and there was nothing soul plain about it. It just started the jarring, and then stepping off that plane out there, and just the whole everybody's black of it. The billboards are black, like the watching the commercials, and the TV shows are all ethnic. The commercials are in the language of the different people that live on that island. It's so multicultural, so just seeing all the cultures getting their shine. There was no dominant. It was like, oh, this is in Spanish and this is in one of the, I don't want to disrespect, but some Indian language. I don't know if it's Hindi or Bengali or whatever, but anyway, the point is that they actually have all of these different ethnicities represented on the few stations that they had on their basic TV. It was so like a trip back in time, but forward, going to Kingston and being downtown in their business district and seeing how you didn't have to code switch, There's brothers with locks and whatever that are in a suit, sure, or in a dashiki.
Can you define code switching for people that may not be aware?
Bradley, I'm from Southeast. Before I took theater lessons, my teacher was like, you have a very Anacostan accent. So
I learned how to speak with a non-regional dialect. And many people of color learn how to code switch. That is, speak without any colloquialisms or type of mark that truly ties you to your upbringing, if it is something that may be a little rough on the ears.
Or, yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out the curse less, you know what I mean? So I'll let you know.
It's they didn't have to. They could be as Jamaican as they wanted to be, just as bright. All the businesses, it was so easy to start a business, and everybody had one. Everybody had a business. I just respected the hustle. I came back home like, you just standing asking for money. What am I just begging for no money out there? I mean, I wasn't dressed like a tourist. Like I have seen them try and hit that, but that's only because they know that we go for that. Outside of that, no, they got to hustle. Everybody got to hustle. Okay, if you selling friendship bracelets, little shells that you found, starfish, see them swimming for it. They got to hustle, and they doing it, and that's what they do. It's what they do. It's what they've been doing. It's what it is. And again, just black on the money. That was what just tripped me out. Like, what? Marcus Garvey bills?
Oh, what? You gotta bring one. Do you have one? You gotta bring one of those in.
Yeah, when I come back, I'm bringing all the money. I just brought back Nanny of the Maroons, a black woman who looks so much like Harriet Tubman and was amazing. But
wow. Black money.
Yeah, man.
I'm trying to see that, yo. I've never seen black money before.
Bahamas has black money, is mad.
Really?
Black countries have black money.
You know, I've never been to a black country.
Yo, every person of color must go. It is like, reset.
Well, I'm supposed to go on my honeymoon to Antigua. That's where my husband's family is from.
Hey.
So I'm excited to go there.
Dive into colorful life, yo.
But I didn't even think about the money being black.
Man, it's
wow.
needed.
That's
it's
powerful.
not a joke. Nothing about being a person of color is a joke, is hood, is lazy. It's all hustle.
Which
It's
are
all
also
great.
unfortunate stereotypes about many immigrants as well. And they're like
Yeah.
working harder
It's the running
than
thing.
anybody.
Like we said in the beginning, all the work that it takes to get here, however the fuck you got here, that shit was a struggle.
I mean, it still is. Like, who in DC doesn't have 3 jobs and works nonstop?
I have 3 jobs.
Exactly. Everybody does. You know what I mean?
Crazy, I
Everybody
know.
does. I mean, how do you think? I mean, I've only had the same Lyft driver like less than 10 times, and I take Lyfts all the time. All the time. I've met so many people.
Everyone
Think about
has
it,
a side
because everybody
hustle.
has to have a side hustle. Think about
Yeah.
all the different types of Lyft drivers you've had, old, young. Everybody's got a story because everybody has to have a side hustle or 2.
Well, that's because the cost of living here in the district is outrageous.
It's ridiculous.
And because a lot of times with jobs, especially jobs that are available to the immigrant community, I'm talking about restaurant jobs, retail jobs, things in the cleaning and like service industry. And that's not to stereotype. That's not what every immigrant community works in. But those are the worker communities that I worked in and organized workers in. There's a ton of immigrant workers. And a lot of those jobs are low wage and don't even offer full-time work anymore. There's this trend to, you know, especially in big corporations, is have everyone work part-time, because when you have people work part-time, then you don't have to pay out benefits to them. And so it forces, you know, people get one job, you know, for like 20 hours at one place, and then they can work 15 hours at another place, and then they can work 25 hours at another place, and altogether, you know, they're working 60, 70 hours, but they don't get any benefits, no medical benefits, no paid sick days, no vacation times. You're just always fucking working.
Yeah.
Working, and you know that it exacerbates your family time, it exacerbates your health, it challenges the kind of food that you eat, that you have time to even put
It's
into
available when you're available
know,
to eat. Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. So it's like really rough out there on the immigrant community, on communities of color, on working class people. And the thing I think that is like shitty to me is the whole thing is shitty, like about taking away kids' rights to be able to get education and work and like not be deported, like live in the fear of random ass deportation. Like you're having to go back to some country that you didn't grow up there, you know, like you're not a base or established there. Like that's scary as shit.
For sure.
You know, aside from that shitty part of it, the thing is too, for those of us who are who have the privilege of being citizens or having full citizenship, you know, when some policy is okay for one group of people, it really makes it okay for other groups of people to like be at risk for that kind of stuff too. Like, you know, you're some kind of status or fit some kind of category, so that means you know, get deported, or you don't have the rights to this higher education, you know. So then, you know, sooner or later, well, this little faction of people, now you guys are not okay to get these kind of things too. And it just, you know, like lowers the bar for everybody, like our quality of life, our identity as the kind of people
Right.
we want to be.
Yeah.
The kind of things we stomach.
It troubles me because I don't know. I mean, this is a country of racial profiling.
Sure is.
And how do you know where anybody is from? How do you know who's an immigrant? What, you gonna just start harassing people, and once they start talking to you, if they have an accent, then you're just gonna violate their privacy and demand to see their identification for no reason
that's
other
what
than the
happened
fact?
with SB 40 or 70, right, in Arizona a couple years ago.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Or SB 1070.
I mean,
yeah.
but that's the society we live in, where people just judge based on whatever they see, and so people judge people's gender or identity or orientation or their race or their ability to wear certain things or do certain things or say certain things just based on like point blank how you look.
Like, how long or what does it take for people to be accepted and accepting in this country?
You know what it's gonna take?
Like, how long does it take? How long did it take for your family to be cool? Like, how long has it taken for African Americans? Like, how long does this shit actually take?
I think the whole
Never.
shit's gotta, I think the lights gotta go off, and it has to be absolute chaos, and the class system needs to be destroyed. Because it's really, the class war is the class war is what's ultimately funding everything else, right? Like, it's rich people making money off of privatized prisons. Like, it's like everything, like all of this shit boils down to like a handful of people making money. So it's not that it's not a race issue or race war.
That's what the 99% movement was about, if y'all remember.
Well, yeah,
just a couple years ago.
Every corporation, when you boil it all down, it's owned by like 6 corporations. Like, Wackenhut, like the people that are making money off of privatized prisons are owned by the same people that own a majority or stake in all those other giant corporations that you are consuming every fucking day. So really, like, why do, if you can make money off of privatized prisons, then there's a real incentive to make sure that people are going to jail. And who's easier to put into jail than people who are already viewed as thugs and criminals and everything else, who are already being starved from like resources and everything else? It just makes sense. So they continue this, this white supremacist motivation, because they're making money when people fail, when people fuck up, when people go to jail, when people succeed. They're making money off of every stage of every human's life, and the people they can't make the money off of, they just imprison to make the money off of them that way.
I mean, white supremacy is what allowed Trump to win. It's a very real thing, and
super.
When you just look at the threatening that they feel of what it is to be white, and the understanding that is coming out now of what it is to quote unquote be American, make America great again. Who is America? Who are they talking about?
When was it ever
America is a very specific group of people. And we have to reconcile with that right now in the information age. Like, it's an ugly truth, but come on, what is America founded on? Slavery and genocide.
Right.
Yeah.
That is what happened in a horrible, horrible way, and they never apologized fully
Or even
So-
acknowledged it. They don't even acknowledge it.
Speaking of people that deny horrible histories and extreme racism, today in my neighborhood,
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
Ward 4,
I saw that.
No.
yes,
What?
Ward 4, some asshole went and like put propaganda on people's windshield. It was a whole sheet of paper red that in white letters across the top said MAGA, and then it said keep calm, repeal DACA, and then at the bottom of it, it had this symbol of from a French military police organization that was in allegiance with Nazi Germany, and they were like all over our neighborhood this morning in Ward 4 in the neighborhood of Brightwood. And I found out about it on Facebook at first because one of my neighbors had posted about it and tagged me, and they were pissed off about it. And then sure enough, I went outside and I started seeing them. So I forgot why I brought this up. Oh, because people are shitty and racist.
Not all of them. I'm really happy now to really see an open white presence that's like, we don't like racism, that's organizing, and they have their different names, but they're like, yo, no racism, because that's big. And shout outs to all of the white civil rights people that have lost their lives fighting and dying alongside people of color that were not mentioned when history comes to retell
John
these
Brown.
things. You know, exactly.
Yeah, John Brown. Also, a lot of Jewish folks too. There's a strong Jewish alliance with African Americans in civil rights history.
It meant your whole professional life to be in allegiance.
Yeah.
With people of color, or their issues. So
well, it's a dangerous game now because the internet is a great place for everybody to have an opinion. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, that, and I don't know. I've seen white people organize for many things in the history of organization. The PETA.
True.
Save the Dolphins.
PETA's terrible organization.
The albacore tuna.
I don't know about PETA like that, but
I'm just
horrible.
Why are they horrible?
It's still. I'm just throwing out
Why
causes.
is PETA horrible?
They're like a scam. It's like the Red Cross or United Nations, United Way.
But that's another thing that white people organized. I'm just talking about large organizations.
Okay, well,
of causes. So now they're organizing against racism, and that's awesome.
Good. That's
because
here in Washington D.C., if you're listening and watching, and you are, Caucasian, if you identify as white, or as Caucasian or Irish or German American or any form
shout out to Italians.
of that, Italians, and you see what is happening in the country, but you're not sure what to do or like how to get involved. There are some really awesome organizations, multicultural organizations where white people are welcome, and have made tremendous, incredible changes for working class people, and working in alliance and in solidarity with people of color here in the District of Columbia. In DC, we're very fortunate to have a lot of organizations that really care. And even though sometimes we do say DC is fucked, this place sucks sometimes. It's corrupt and it's the same old shit.
Little ass town.
America.
When you go outside of DC, like shit is really different. We have it really good here.
You're like,
actually.
I'm from DC, yo. I don't know about y'all.
Like shit is really progressive here. So I want to shout out to the Washington Peace Center. We've talked about them before, but they're a great organization. I think it's WashingtonPeaceCenter.org. I think that's a really good hub where people can go and learn about what they're doing in terms of anti-war and anti-racism trainings and peaceful protest, demonstrations. Like they train people how to get involved peacefully, and they connect people with other organizations who are working on stopping police violence, on ending homelessness, on affordable housing, on fair wages. Like they have this amazing calendar on their website where they let you know what organizations are doing what actions, what speeches, what protests are happening. So if you're new to DC, or even if you've been in DC for a long time and you just have no idea, the Washington Peace Center is a great place to start.
That's awesome
to get involved.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd also like to say, for those that are not identifying as a person of color or who are able to pass in certain times, white silence is consent. And there's so many things that you're able to do and say, and you will not have the same ramifications or repercussions as if a person of color were to do those things. Shout outs to that video of that chick that whooped that racist lady's ass.
Yeah.
Like, for real. If that had been a black woman, no, the cops would have treated it completely differently. But when he got there on the scene and saw that was what happened, it was, you use your privilege, use your position or whatever, use your voice to say something. I see so many different videos where there's all these people around and nobody's saying anything. We have all got to speak up. everybody has to speak up. When it comes to a moment of racism and things of that nature, you have to speak up. And I do understand, I think that now is we're in a time where we all have to go and look within to deal with all of our different issues that we all are facing, as a woman of color, period, just within women of color, and then as a person of color within our men and women within our community, to just as Washingtonian with everybody who lives here in the city. But understanding that there's things I can say woman to woman that if a man were to say, it'd be a completely different reaction. You can't even have that conversation. You can't even say these things. It just won't work. So we have to look at dealing within our communities and having these conversations and checking people in ways.
Absolutely. And around immigration too, because especially in the Black community or in Caucasian communities that have been here for generations, we have forgotten what it is like to be new here. Sometimes our families, even though we are progressive, like not everyone in our families are on that same love tip. And so, you can also have conversations within your family about respecting everyone's dignity, no matter where they are from, and reminding them that we did not always come from here too, No, unless you're Native American, unless you're part of Jay Mills's family, you were not here originally. So we are all immigrants.
Man, we're all citizens of the earth, yo.
Right.
Word to the Silk Road, man. Supposed to be traveling around, singing songs of my people, exchanging spices and textiles. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
Get my ship, man.
Well,
I'm gonna help you, J Mills.
Serious.
I think that's a good transition for business in some way.
Yeah.
Who are we shouting out this week? Who's been a good business? We got any spice businesses up in this piece?
Some spice businesses. Well, Rito Loco across the street just opened their rooftop bar, El Teco. In fact, we can go there after this.
Yes.
Do they have good spices?
Yes.
They have great tacos.
And great tequila.
All right. Rito Loco, where are they located?
Directly across the street from here, right by the Howard Theater on Florida Avenue.
And why are they dope?
Because they're awesome. It's Danny and Louis Loco, and they work super hard, and they have a great product, and they're great business neighbors, and they have a rooftop deck.
And they have a rooftop deck.
They have a rooftop deck and tacos.
Did we mention they have a rooftop deck?
Honestly, they had me at tacos, but it helps that they're also awesome. But actually, that's not who I wanted to shout out. I just snuck that one in.
All right. Who else is a dope business?
So for our DC local shout out, definitely want to show some serious love to We Act Radio out of Southeast. Yes.
Come on.
That's right.
Come on.
Exactly. So the studio was broken into.
Yeah.
About a week ago, or maybe a week and a half ago.
It was like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
And they came in and they did some serious damage, and they took a bunch of stuff, and they definitely they kneecapped them. They weren't able to continue, and they put up a GoFundMe for $15,000, and they hit it in like 2 hours.
Yes.
Exactly. So shout out to DC.
Yes.
For actually giving a fuck
That's
prior to some people's beliefs and
that
constant.
is Black excellence right there.
But it only gets better, Nikki, because then they said, well, 15 gets us back in the game, but not really, because we need to get a security system. So they upped it to 25 and hit 28 within 48 hours.
Yes, yo, that is so beautiful.
It is super beautiful.
That's one love.
It's super reassuring, isn't
beautiful.
it?
Yes.
Manifest destiny.
Manifest destiny. And so it's great. And so actually, now We Act is getting more acknowledgement and visibility than before, and people really stepped up, and people who didn't even know about the station before donated. And so it's really a great thing to see the community come together, and everyone was very supportive, whether they could give a financial donation or not.
That's great.
And I think that's awesome. And shout out to the founder, as you mentioned, who also founded the Black Love Festival,
Kimon founded that?
Yes,
Yeah.
in 1997.
Oh my God, Kimon doesn't even look that old. Shout out
I know,
to beautiful
eternal
black
you.
man. Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah, we gotta tag him in this so he can sit and listen to us and smile real big.
No way.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jay Mills. Let him know. We're talking about how beautiful
I'm
he
about to
is.
tag
Mr.
him.
Freeman.
So yeah,
Yes.
the 20-year anniversary is of that as well, and then also the 20-year anniversary. Shout out to Joseph Munch for the
Word.
movement
Oh,
sessions,
yes.
the longest running open mic night in DC.
Awesome.
Started at Bar None. What?
Oh wow!
Blast from the past.
None. Wow.
Can we just
Thank you, Munch.
take
Thank
a
you,
moment to
Munch.
just Bar None moment? You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
That's where I got my start, man. One bulb in the ceiling, brick walls, bar none.
You know,
wow.
you can't live in DC like
And
for
not know
years
about
and not
Bar
have
None.
at
Yeah.
least one Bar None story.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I used to be a bartender at Cafe Nema, like 3 doors down.
Oh shit! I loved that place.
Yeah.
I was so sad when it closed.
Me too. People would come in and see me and then look around and be like, "Where's Ibrahim?" They sell the place. Like, no, I'm just here on Saturdays. It's
They were
okay.
like, "Who's this white girl?"
Who is this girl? It's like house music playing and hip hop. It was great. I love that place. But
Wow.
but yeah, shout out to Barnum. But shout out to Joseph Munch because it is also the 20-year anniversary of the movement sessions, the longest
It
running.
is. I performed 10 years ago at the Lincoln Theater at the 10-year
Look at that.
anniversary
So shout out
show of the
to
movement.
to organizations.
DC culture, man.
well, and you know what? I would like to give a shout out to anybody that does anything to support DC culture because a lot of times it's easy to sit and talk about what doesn't exist. You know, I've had at least 4 conversations in the last week about why people from DC that like made some money or notoriety in music didn't stay or come
Left.
back or start a label. You know, you go to Atlanta, you go to other cities and cats
Yeah.
made some money and started labels and started studios and started
Yeah.
distribution, like, you know, channels and things. And that's why you have a lot more music like being played in the clubs and more support. And DC doesn't really have that, you know what I mean? And so I think, you know, it's one of those things where like Def Jam, you know what I mean? Like Russell Simmons, like they didn't create that platform because it already existed. They created it because it didn't exist. So shout out to anybody that's doing anything for the culture, like the Black Love Festival, like the movement sessions, like We Act Radio, like the MNM Show. You know what I mean? Blah, blah. And
Like
both
the
of
real
you,
J Mills.
exactly, like Nikki.
Tiger Swan Timeless.
Exactly. So shout out to, you know, anybody. If you're, you know, if you think something is missing in your neighborhood or in your social circle or whatever it is, and you feel this quality thing is not there, create it.
Yeah.
Create it. Don't be mad at that it doesn't exist. Create it because
Build it.
Build it.
You know, Chris and I, my husband and I were just talking about that this morning after we, you know, saw the flyers in our neighborhood. You know, we've been talking for a couple of years about doing some kind of community festival in Tacoma. They have the Tacoma Jazz Fest, but like there's this huge, right behind Coolidge High School, this huge community center and these huge fields, this beautiful park, and it's so underutilized. And you know, whenever we go up to New York or something, there's always something happening in the parks there, and it's like, yo, it would just be so awesome if there was more music here, more vendors, more stuff for kids, you know. And so wow, that really made a difference. So we you know, I think we're gonna move forward and plan something around love, and have some vendors and have some awesome local artists and just do it.
Well, maybe
Amen to
it's
it.
time to connect with Kimon and go, you know, talk about the Black Love Festival or, you know, pair together. You know, it's
Yeah.
you know, you have to support the things that you love, right? You know, we all know that as people who create things. You know, congratulations to J Mills on her upcoming business shower.
Oh, hour.
Yeah.
And Lee signing. Yes, you know what? Let's talk about that, ladies.
Yeah.
Shout out to you two for
I-
making that happen.
Yeah. So I'm going to pass this to Jay because Jay is the person that found this incredible space.
Sweet J.
Yes.
Don't be shy, girl.
Man, manifest destiny.
Shout
That's
out to that.
that's the thought for the day. That's gonna be the metaphysical message
Yes.
for later. But I had always wondered what was upstairs at this, abandoned strip mall or whatever. I'm glad that I chose to go up that escalator and see that it was just this abandoned little slice of a strip mall. And the leasing agent who managed the building had before suggested to me that I lease a space inside, because I had asked her several times to use the parking lot and use different parts to stage for different fundraisers that I've been doing starting 2 years ago. So I did the math, and the rent was less than what I would be spending to do events when I look at how much it costs to front the bar guarantee, hoping that people drink enough so that I can get my money back, or all the other monies that have to be spent to do the event, whether it's the food or whatever the cost that's surround it, So yeah, got this spot. It's been months in the working of it, trying to get this lease down. The building is supposed to be demolished and redeveloped, and so we're just gonna be rocking it out until next summer. There's a possibility that we could have a space through the construction, but it's a pretty massive redevelopment that's gonna be occurring. So shout outs to Rhode Island Avenue, right there off 4th and Rhode Island.
So where is that exactly? Give us a landmark. Is that by
Foreman Mills?
Foreman
McDonald's,
Mills with the dope ass
Edgewood.
graffiti wall behind it.
Yes.
That's exactly
That strip mall.
Also right off the
Popeyes.
MBT. Shout out to Bike
Right
Life.
off
Yes.
the MBT,
Yes.
right off the Rhode Island
Word.
Avenue Metro Station,
Yes.
across that dope bridge. We're gonna have
Yes.
some awesome photo shoots there.
Awesome.
Yes.
But yeah, what's the address? What is it?
680
680
Rhode Island Avenue.
Rhode Island Avenue.
Yes.
It's that strip mall right by the Popeyes and the Foreman Mills
That's right.
and the Save-A-Lot and that McDonald's.
And when does it? When's going to be your grand opening?
The business shower is on September the 30th, and I'm inviting all the other business owners that I know to come out and sell your wares. When I first walked in there, I mean, just that whole thought of a abandoned mall, like, man, there's so many businesses here. Why is this abandoned?
Yeah, the space is dope. So for people who are just tuning in or wondering, like, what are we doing in an abandoned mall? Like, so much, right?
Right.
We have access there. First of all, the place is going to be called the Sweet J, right?
I mean,
Our little business slice is going to be called the Sweet J. And so J Mills is going to have her business in there. I'm going to have a pop-up business in there. And we're also going to have a hair braiding specialist in there too. So just going to be like 3 super fly chicks and doing 3 different things. And then we have access to the whole mall. So we're going to turn this mother out.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about your business that you're going to be hosting inside of Sweet J.
So as you know, I have the company The Green Life, where I do cannabis education classes. So I'm happy that I finally have my own private office in a private building that is the headquarters for members to come and take these classes in a safe and secure environment.
And what kind of classes are you going to be offering?
With the Green Life, we have all sorts of classes that deal around holistic living, sustainable life, and medicinal cannabis knowledge. Knowledge of growing, cultivating, consumption, and most specifically, I really like to get into the mental health of it, in terms of being able to self-medicate and understand why you're choosing this therapy, whether it's for physical needs or mental. So just providing a space for that, for us to do consultations. I have another company, GGC, Good Greenery Consultants, where we supply you with 5 clones and a one-on-one crash course in growing.
That's dope.
And
Literally.
so that's what I'll be doing out of the space. But for me, having that crazy common area, I'm so looking forward to the business shower. I'm looking forward to the Halloween party. I'm looking forward to the Thanksgiving feast. The Thanksgiving feast, I'm putting it out there right now, and I'm hollering out all the dopest chefs that I know to come out there. And it'll be like a cool Taste of DC type of experience, just tasting a bunch of stuff. Let's get our feast on.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. So it's going to be called the Sweet J.
Yeah.
And you can find the real J Mills there. You can find me there. I will have Tiger Swan Timeless satellite office there, where I will have select merchandise, crowns, furs, jumpsuits, dope sunglasses, and some other fly accessories, and portrait studio space available. And yeah, you can come shop, come get a mini style consultation with me and learn more about what I do. And then who's the third business who's going to be with us?
Senna Styles. You can catch her on Instagram. She got a couple thousand, tens of thousands of followers because her braids are amazing.
I'm personally
fully
excited.
Washed and blow dried out, and she will hook you up.
Yes. So more details to come as we open. We'll be inviting people to our many parties and events, fashion shows, feasts, vending opportunities. It's a really dope space, y'all. We're excited to open it up. I'm thankful to know Mills and that she is a local person that lives in that neighborhood that knew about the opportunity, so we can build some DC culture and support each other as small entrepreneurs, as people of color, as women, trying to build business, become sustainable, and not be slaves to the man.
Or to anybody.
Exactly. So, yeah, that was a big business shout out. We got a lot of awesome businesses and people, entrepreneurs here in the District of Columbia. We're really excited every week to keep shouting out more businesses so that you, the viewers, can learn about the best places to go and support, and feel good about how you're spending your dollars. So with that, I think it's time to get metaphysical.
Metaphysical.
Physical.
Metaphysical. You guys are so silly. Oh, man. One love.
Take it home, J Mills. Take it home.
Yes, man. I said before that today's metaphysical moment was going to be on manifest destiny.
Yes,
I love this quote by Erykah Badu where she says, I realized, someone asked, when did you realize you were God? And she said, well, I was praying and I realized I was talking to myself.
Yes.
I love Erykah Badu.
I know.
And that's facts right there. You are connected to the Most High, divine, life force, spirit, knowledge of the all at all times. You personally, as long as you live, which is forever. And in manifest destiny, understanding the power of your mind is that if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. And it's that simple. It sounds so cliche. Life will throw all types of shit your way and it'll make you feel like it's impossible to think that you can. But trust and believe. If you think you can, you can. That is the difference between those that do and those that don't. Those that achieve success and those that just talk shit about those that achieve success. Everybody has haters. In the path of greatness, that's what will come. We live in a realm of relativity where it has to be relative for you to truly have understanding and experience. Our spirit comes from a place of absolute where there is nothing relative. The sun never sets once you leave this earth. It's just there. It just shines. What is night? What is hot? What is cold in space? It will freeze and burn you. Is it hot? Is it cold? Who knows? It's like we only in Earth does this even matter. And yet we doubt ourselves, we doubt our dreams, we doubt what we can do. But manifest destiny is real. You think these things, you dream these things, you want these things, you write it down, claim it, and it is yours. What you have for you is for you. It's meant to be. I love to think about the parable of walking on water. And the moment the disciples started to look down, that's when he started to drown, because that's what doing the impossible is. You are the impossible. The moment you were born, you were impossible. Life is not a given, it's a gift. You are doing the impossible. Every time you do something, you start to look down and you will start to drown. So manifest destiny. The fact that you're looking down means that you are doubting. You're looking down trying to figure out how. There is no reason why. It is what it is. It just accepted being. That's what it is to be a human being. We're not a human is. Stop looking for what is, because it's deeper than that. Manifest destiny. That's my metaphysical message for the day.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Jay Mills.
To all the dreamers out there too, yeah, think it, believe it, see it. To all the people who want a better America, like, vision it, talk it, dream it, write it down. It does matter. Create that manifest energy, that destiny, and don't give up. The story, what did MLK say? Like, the arch is long to justice, or y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
I recall it, but I don't know the quote.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. Manifest destiny. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been
MNM
Show.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.